give it a shot. And I figured I'd do a video. First, he shared an image on Facebook, so I'm going to go ahead and upload that image. I've already loaded them into the, excuse me, I've already uploaded them from the website. It looks like I messed up on that one and actually included all my phone information, so we're just actually going to delete that one. I can use the other one for everything that I need. So I've got the image uploaded. So we go over to creations and go down to championships. Go to custom championships. And, you know, first things first, you have to pick your base settings, which is which belt you want to use and the face plates and everything of that nature. Because of the type of image that he wants to use, we're going to need more of a round or an octagon belt. I'm going to use a variation. I want to use this one right here. Actually, no, I'm not. I don't like that one. I don't like the rough edges. I forgot about that. I want to use the tag team style faceplate, but I'm going to change the side plate designs, which you can do because of what he wants. I think another side plate design would be better. That's not the one I'm looking for. I think that one would be perfect. And we're going to try that one. We're going to go ahead and go with that one. We're going to go to the front plate design. The image he wanted is already, like I said, uploaded. So it should be somewhere in my hundreds and hundreds of custom images that I have. Hopefully somewhere near the bottom so it's easy to find. Right there it is. Now you can edit these images. You can select an area if you want to get rid of all the white. You can select an area. If you want to select more than one area, once you pick your first area, go to add an area, and you can add as many areas as you want, and then you can go through and either delete all the areas or change their color if you choose. For this particular title so far, I'm just going to go ahead and delete all the white areas. And the challenge is you've got your little white areas here that are hard to get. And see, that's going to mess too much up. So if you pick that and you don't want to pick it, you can go down to delete area and it'll take that back off. That's not going to be a section I'm going to be able to get, it looks like, unless I hit it just right, and it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to. Yeah, it doesn't look like I want to be able to without messing it up. So we're going to just leave that be and go ahead and go back down to one of the blinking areas and click delete, and it'll delete all the areas that you had highlighted. I'm pretty happy with what I have there. So when I save, it's going to take me back and I'm going to have to go find the image that I just adapted. For some reason my images aren't showing up at the bottom. Pay no attention to the naked ladies. That's in characters that I downloaded. Now there's the one that I adjusted. go ahead and apply that image. And you can change it to any material you want. I usually go with steel. It matches the belt. You can go with steel bumped. It looks a little damaged, kinda. Sometimes that's good to use as well, depending on what you're doing. Then how bright, how much the opacity. I mean, if we want it to show up, that shows it kind of engraved, but we don't want that. There's a better way to do that, and that's to emboss it and make. If you emboss it all the way and then make it colorless, then you get that. But we're not going to use that for this one. I really don't like the way that's setting, but I do want the DWD in there. I could go back in and edit the image and delete it again, or I can just stretch it until that's out of the way. And then we'll just have the DWD right in the middle. And I might have to actually go delete it. So I can, that actually looks pretty good there. So we're going to go ahead and place that there. And we're going to take some of the emboss off, because sometimes too much embossing makes it look weird. So I'm going to do that there. Then we're going to hit confirm. Now with the color title we're going with, I think we're probably going to be better off going with a different color back. I'd like to see it in gold, so what I'm going to do is go up and pick yellow, and then go down the color picker and try to get a gold. I don't know if I like that either, but let's stick with that for now. We can always come back and change it later. Now, something I like to do is, so you don't have a plain flat background there, you can always go to your images and you can go to your reliefs. And what I do sometimes, I will pick like this relief here and stretch it out, and it'll give you that old title look without the engraving that's on the big relief. But what I've been doing recently, which looks, I think, pretty cool, is been using this design here and embossing it. You don't have to change any colors or anything on it, and you do a full emboss, and it gives you a look kind of like a, I mean, I like it, so that's what I do. This guy didn't ask for anything in particular. He just asked if somebody can do anything. I'll take a second one and then turn it and do exactly the same thing, colorless and fully engraved, and it gives it that look there. I don't like the DWD behind it, so I'm going to go down and click move, and I can move it onto the top of them. Then you've got that look behind, but you've got your stuff on top. Now, to do his, I'm guessing he's looking for a heavyweight championship. So, find a championship plate that looks pretty good. I like mine to say world heavyweight champion. So usually I'll go down here and use actually the bottom part of the Intercontinental champion, where it says heavyweight wrestling champion, and it fits kind of perfectly in this round, even though it's for the Intercontinental. And you can change the material again. You can change it to steel. So I leave it at default because it actually looks better to me. Then you can change the colors on it. You get the lettering, and then what I like to do is make one completely see-through. So you can actually, it'll come up the color of the background, but I'm going to lighten that red up a little bit because of the gold. That's perfect right there on that one. I must have used it before. But then the green that I showed you that was completely clear, that I made it the opacity, I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right. If I'm not, correct me. I've taken it all the way down. And now you've got the green background with the red lettering to kind of match the DWD. But the only problem with me using that heavyweight wrestling champion is there's no real good relief that matches it. So what I actually do usually on titles like this, to where you can hide it, you either go with the WCW world or the ECW world, which is right here. I don't use it that much because of the melting letter look. This world matches kinda, but you'll get, no matter what color you change it to, you're going to get that gold. You're still going to have a gold look to the side of it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You put it up there, and you change the letter color. And you can see around the trim, you still got that gold look. So I don't really like that one too much. So I'll go back and I'll get the WCW world, and you can actually, if you take it up far enough, you can actually see the entire part of world. You make it a little bit smaller. It fits right in there. You can see the entire part of world, and you can't see the WCW. So when you go to colors, you get your first part. We're going to change the red, of course, to match the bottom. It is a little bit thicker, but yeah, I think it looks good. That's the way I usually use it. But if I decide, I'm sitting here looking at it and I don't want to use it, I can go back to it and edit it and use another relief if I want. Another championship, heavyweight championship that I use is the ECW. If I can find it. I think I've went too far. Let me go back down here. I apologize. Not that one, but this one right here, I believe. No, that's this. I'm sorry, that's the Smoking Skull, the Stone Cold heavyweight champion. Or you have this one here that's just pretty cool. That will fit into that title. There's not really a plain one. This is one I use a lot, but it doesn't have an outline, so it doesn't really fit what I'm doing with this belt. And that's a tag team win. And we don't want WWE on it, obviously. So we may just go back with the one we started with. Maybe that one actually I liked a little bit better. I forgot about him. We'll make him a little bit smaller so he doesn't outshine the world. Just make sure we can match the colors and everything, and it doesn't look too strange. And actually, that looks pretty good. And, you know, and something you can do, you know, because it does have the little white dots, looks like the rivets. If you're really picky on how your belt looks, you can go into design and pick this little guy here. And if you want the rivet look, you can make him that small. You can make him almost small, so small he disappears. That's about perfect. And just place him there and give him the steel look. And then pick the white, and you know, it almost looks, and if you give him a little red outline, because if you look down there, that one has it. It almost looks just like the rivet on the champion one below. You know, for the front plates, you can do a lot more because you have a lot more space to add things. And like I said, I'm really nitpicky on my titles. I want everything to look good. You know, especially if somebody else requested it, and it's like, you know, he didn't ask me particularly to do this title, but he said, can anybody do anything? And I was going to make a title video eventually anyway, so I figured why not go ahead and make this video. I haven't told him I'm doing it yet, so I'll go ahead and make this video and take a picture of the belt, and if he likes it, I'll upload it for him. If he doesn't, I'll delete it. Now that's your kind of simple style there. I'm not really, I like to do a little bit more flair if possible. So, you know, you can always add an eagle. You know, you can make him as small as you want. To try to fit him under this, it's kind of going to take away from the eagle. So I might try to make him big and see how he looks behind the DWD. And again, if you don't like the way it looks once you put it in, you can take it out. I mean, that's just that simple. Really, making a belt is trial and error. And I don't like him the color. Let's just leave him the color he was and see what he looks like once we move him behind the DWD. And it looks awful, so we'll go ahead and delete him. And we'll move on with another plan. We'll try to find something that fits in there. There is a really nice globe that really almost looks good on any title you're creating. And it's right here. And, you know, it'll fit right behind the DWD. And what I can do here is you can adjust the colors, and you can adjust the colors and everything as well. I'm going to leave it the same material to start with. You know, you can make, again, you can make it the color of that, and then make the ocean red, or you can do it the other way around, but I really think that looks good the way it is, so I think I'm going to leave that. There's an option to put an outline on it. But because I made the gold, let me do this. I have a better idea. Instead of making the gold, making it clear, we'll use my gold color here, which pretty much matches the background because that's what I used. And that way, if I do want to put an outline on it, it doesn't take up the whole thing. And you see it'll put the outline around it. You can put any color outline you want, any color that makes sense. But the way I've got it lined up, the outline is falling right behind the red on the world and on the champion, which kind of shows I got a pretty good pretty good alignment there with the planet. But I don't know if I like that line, so I'm going to go ahead and back out. And we're not going to put an outline on it. And, excuse me. And, excuse me. I'm getting all choked up here. And, leave it just like it is, and I think that actually looks pretty good for a basic belt. I don't think he's looking for anything too extreme. So we're gonna go with that. And I know this is getting kind of long, but creating a title is not done in 5 minutes. So I'm going to keep going and keep talking to you. Now the strap, you can change the colors on the strap. I'm going to change the color on the pins, but I really think the strap is good the way it is. I like that design. So we'll just go ahead and move on to the left side plate. We're going to change its color to the same gold as the background there. Material will leave the same, and then we'll go find his logo again and see if there's anything. I think it was right around in here. I'm going to try to maybe use see if I can use almost his whole logo here. I know that's what he wanted, but I just had a thought, so I'm going to go back and edit the image. Now, well, that's what I was going to do, but I backed up too far. I apologize. But I'm going to go ahead and edit the image because I've got that color saved now. So again, I'm going to pick all the white areas. And I'm going to change them, if it will let me, to that gold color that I selected earlier from my background of my belt. Again, I'm not going to try to get those lines, even though they may stand out a little bit. I'll end up messing up the whole logo. And if I change all these to that, I may be able to keep the octagon shape within the title without it looking goofy. Then go to color select. There's my gold color. I'll just pick it and go to accept, and then you go to paint. Now all the areas that are blinking, when I click on that, will be painted that color. So I'll go ahead and accept. And I bypassed it. I just saw it pop up for a second. And there's that. When I apply this image, and make it still not quite got the look, as you can see. Let's see if one of the others, surprisingly, rubber sometimes will give you a better look, but it's still got kind of a paper look. So I'm not happy with that. So I'm going to go back and get the one that I took all the white out of first and just try to fit it in there. It should still look good. See, there that is. So we'll fit that in here. I just don't like the spaces on the edges. I don't know why it bugs me, but it does. But hey, you know, it's his stuff. And then we'll go back to steel and see. I mean, you can see how much different it looks. So, and the opacity, again, I don't know if I'm saying that word right, and I don't really care. Colorless, it looks like that, and it'll look more ingrained the more you do it. I used that on another title earlier that I made. I don't think it will go with this one though, so go ahead and approve that, confirm that. Then I'm going to use my little trick with the design and go behind that, and hopefully I chose the right side plate that'll give me enough room to do the next thing that I want to do. But I'll tell you that in a minute after I put a little bit of texture to my background here. I'm not going to use as much. Excuse me. I'm only going to use the one on this one because it is smaller. So you don't need as much texture. Too much texture on these. Maybe a little overdoing it. I'll go ahead and move it behind. I could do that first, but I keep forgetting, so I'm not going to. I can add at least one more thing, so we're going to try. We're going to go to relief, and again, I'm doing this for somebody that mentioned they wanted. You know, you can use the front plate design on the reliefs. So, I mean, it's not a big deal. It'll just make them smaller. They'll still look good if you do them right. That's limiting my abilities on that one. So I'm going to try a different one that might be easier read once I change the colors on it. Or easier to read, I think this might be our proper English. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to leave the default material, even though you can change it to steel. First color, just like on the main face, main front plate, we're going to change it to that. And then we're going to do this here. And confirm, and it is going to let me have one other thing. So try to do something here. I might have to use the world that I said I didn't like to use earlier, but it'll be smaller. I can always use this world, but again, you get gold flakes popping in, and it really matches nothing else because, you know, it's part of the Stone Cold Championship, the Smoking Skull Championship, so it just doesn't look right on certain things. So we're just going to use this world, and as small as we're making it, we shouldn't have to stress too much on the little gold flakes that I mentioned earlier. You won't be able to really see them once I make that like that. And then you know, you can do an outline to get the red around it, but if you do that, because you make it clear, which is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to use my actual gold color. That way I can put an outline on it. and that way it matches a little bit more with the bottom. And once I get back to that, if I want to move it up a little bit, and I see that I do because my outline is touching it, we'll move it there. And I'm sitting here, I keep looking at this hexagon, and I just don't really like it. I think it's sticking out too much. So we're gonna do what we did with the front plate, and we're gonna stretch it until the hexagon's out. We'll just have to move our other stuff. We might not be able to do it. Yep, there we are. And we still have it in. And yes, the front is gonna look exactly like the side plates, sorta, but not really. And then of course we have to move our other stuff because we stretched it out. But that's simple. And you just go back to edit, pick the same thing. Doesn't change any of your colors. And there you go. And if you are saying the side plate looks just like the front plate, it's still giving me extra room. So something else that I can do to try to make it a little bit different, and is again go back to images and go down to designs, not WWE designs, but designs. And you can either use the one I used earlier, which is that one. This one I use sometimes to add a little bit of different texture. And you can spin it, and I mean you can stretch it out as far as you want, just to give it the texture you're looking for. We're going to try that just to see what it looks like. And again, go to colorless and emboss it all the way up and accept. And since we did that last, we're going to have to move it behind everything. And that gives a little different look. I'm sitting here thinking I may even want to delete this and just go with that look on the side plate. And let's see what it looks like on top of everything. And it doesn't look right on top of everything, so we'll move it back. But that does give it a cool design on the back. And then we got the thinner lines. The texture is not really there, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to re-add. I'm sorry, like I said, this is a 30-some minute video, but making titles isn't easy. And we'll give it that texture back. I'm actually going to put this one on top. I want to move it on top of everything, and it gives it that little different. Actually, let me move the. It's still there. I need to move it one more. There we go. One of those just doesn't look right. It's kind of too much going on. I'm actually going to change. Please forgive me. I'm going to change again because I've got a third one that I use and a fourth one. I use either one of these two as well, but I think for what I'm looking for, I'm going to use this one. I did use this one on a belt earlier, and that's why I was trying to avoid using it again. But if you have a style, you have a style. And apparently I have a style. And got it positioned how I want. Go to colorless and 100% embossed. And I think that looks good the way it is. Now, we're going to accept. I think it's looking really good so far. We go to the right side plate, change our color to our gold that we made. Material, we're going to leave the same. Like I said, you can go steel bump. It looks a little damaged, but we're not going to do that. And you can change it to steel, but we're not going to do that either. We can go to default. That's where we've done everything else at, so that's what we're going to stick. And since we know which one of those back images we're going to use, we'll go to designs first. I make both side plates look the same. Some people make them different. That's just what I do. I make them both the same. Again, you stretch this out as far as you want to go, how much of the design you want to keep. That's about all I keep of it. And then you go to emboss, make it colorless, and 100% embossed, and you've got a cool background to go ahead and place your emblem on. Now I'm going to go to images, and again we go to custom images, and we scroll back up here a little ways, and we find our DWD and apply, and we'll get it stretched as best we can. You may have to swing over to the side just to make sure they're the same. And see, I've got a little bit more of that D. Okay, that's just cutting the bottom corner off, kind of like that one is. I think that's pretty much exactly the same. So we're going to go ahead and place it there. Change the material to steel. And emboss it just a bit to give it that shinier look, but we don't want to go too shiny. Again, you can go colorless and that looks cool, but on this belt I just don't think it fits. So, and then we'll go get our world and our wrestling champion reliefs and place those. And I'm looking in the wrong place. I apologize. I forgot to change over. And there's the world that we want to use. And we just want to make sure. I'm picky about making sure everything is the exact same size. I don't want to make a belt for somebody or make a belt for myself and somebody come back and say, hey, the world on the left is like 2 inches bigger than the world on the right. So, I mean, I'm just meticulous about it. Some people choose not to be as meticulous about it, but most of the good creators, not saying I am one, but most of the good creators prefer to be meticulous. That way they get it right. I think that looks pretty good. I know it does look a little bit different, and I know why, and I can fix that easily by doing this, moving it over, and because that world is behind the thing, and it looks better that way. It's not blinging out as much. Then we'll go get our wrestling champion. I believe it's the one we used. And there he is. And let's see how far down I was. Just a hair of a gap. And did it go all the way? I did not go all the way across either, so just about like that. And you can tap on your controller and get just a little bit of a move, you know, just like that. Just tap on it instead of trying to move it like that, because you're going to get a bigger jerk if you try to move it with your finger than if you just tap it and let it snap back. And then we'll go ahead and change the colors. And again, I'm going to have to move, and you know, it's just like the other side. Remove everything, get it behind it, and there's that. And you got to change your title information. I don't know what he's going to want it, so I'll probably just go ahead and set it at DWD Championship all the way down. But there is your final product, and that is just a basic belt. I've taken a lot longer on some belts. You can ask my friend Harold, who has his own YouTube channel that does wrestling for BCW. He asked me to create a belt for him, and it literally took me like 3 or 4 days because I wanted it perfect. But there's the final result of this basic belt that I'm going to create for this guy, and see if he likes it. And if he does, I'll go ahead and upload it. Some people clear it all out and you have to type it back in. I learned a little trick. If you just go and hit backspace, delete the last letter, you can then scroll over using the R3, scroll to the beginning, and everything doesn't clear off. So you don't have to sit and type championship 500 times, or even champion, or even champion. You don't have to type it 500 times, especially if you're doing something real quick like naming a DWD championship. Which is quick and easy. I'm fiddling around there and messed up. And you get to pick your movie, and you can preview it, and it'll show you up there in the right hand corner what it's going to look like when you're defending it, when it actually shows up on the screen. I don't like that one because it doesn't match the colors, but I believe movie 2 does have the gold letters that comes out. So yeah, so that matches it a lot better. And then you've got number 5 has got barbed wire. Number 3 has number 3 is always cool, but it has WWE pop up at the top. And again, if you're not doing a WWE, what good is it for you? Number 4 is lightning, and again, number 5 is barbed wire and hardcore. That's great for a hardcore championship. But we're going to go with number 2, which has a little bit of fireworks, and then pew, there you go. And then you can pick your ring announcement. Unfortunately, you're not going to find DWD in here. So, like, I had one, you know, ECW. If you're doing a BCW, you can always have it announced ECW. And the announcer... ECW! Yeah. ECW! You can pretend like you're hearing BCW. His with DWD or FCW. I had an SCW that I did in my universe. I used FCW, and it came out pretty good. His against DWD, so you're not going to find anything that really sounds like it. So just pick something that sounds possibly close. And I'm just going to go with Deep South. Deep South! I don't know what DWD stands for. I'm going to leave it at Superstars. You can change it to women and back to Superstars. Single or tag. Cruiserweight off means anybody can fight for the belt. Cruiserweight on means only cruiserweights can fight for the belt. So If you're making a cruiserweight title, turn it on. If you're making a title you want anybody to be able to win, leave it off. And then just hit accept, move over, and finalize. I'm not going to finalize it because I'm going to wait and make sure he likes it. If he gives me any changes I might need to make. But that's going to be the end of the broadcast for now. Sorry about wasting 45 minutes of your time. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. Turn the bell on. And I will be posting more videos later. Have a good evening, and thank you for watching.